Time to go through the top 15 science fiction movies between 1977 and 1991. Boy, there's a science fiction explosion during this period, especially of pretty good to excellent science fiction movies. Let's rank them, but I'm also going to include all kinds of other movies and give you several recommendations. So here we go, the top 15. One of my rules for this list is that we're going between Star Wars Episode 4, 1977, and Terminator 2, 1991. Those are good bookends because Star Wars is sort of the beginning, along with Jaws, of the blockbuster Hollywood era, which revolutionizes movies, and you get these huge blockbuster movies for the next almost 45 years after Star Wars. We end this list with Terminator 2 because it really brought into the foreground, and I think really did it well, computer graphics, special effects, which now are a part of all movies, especially big budget movies and big budget blockbuster movies. So the beginnings of the blockbuster, and then the new era, beginnings of the new era of computer special effects, 1977 to 1991. Number 15 is a franchise, and it, exploded after Star Wars because, well, it was the franchise before Star Wars. It's Star Trek. And I'm going to put the movie here in the top 15. Number 15, Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
Fire. Fire.
It's a fun, watchable movie that quotes Moby Dick and Shakespeare. If you like Star Trek, the animated series, Star Trek, the TV series, who wouldn't like Star Trek 2? It's just fun. The other ones, number 1, number 3, meh. Number 4, it's okay. And number 5 is one of the worst movies I think ever made by Hollywood. So Star Trek hasn't had a lot of success to me in terms of films, but number 2 is not bad. So here it is, number 15. Number 14 is weird. You've never heard of this. Most of you haven't. It's a Russian movie, Kinzaza.
Иностранным владеешь?
This is available freely on YouTube in high definition. Very weird, quirky movie that will remind you of the Mad Max trilogy coming up in this list. And Stalker by Tarkovsky, a bunch of other movies. It's slower paced. This is late Soviet Union era weird dark humor. So I recommend this movie if you don't see any international science fiction movies. This is not a bad one. Paired with it, I'll put Back to the Future tentatively. People love the script to it, but I like Kinzaza as a sort of a person on Earth transported to a different place sort of movie. Back to the Future being a time travel movie. But Back to the Future, of course, comes up in all kinds of science fiction lists, so I'll include it right here. Number 13, Terminator. Let's put Terminator 2 here, although Terminator 1 can be here. Classic Arnold Schwarzenegger stuff. In fact, Arnold Schwarzenegger comes into his own. In fact, Arnold Schwarzenegger is in a lot of this list, 2 or 3 movies at least in this list, because he was a great science fiction action hero star for those of us who grew up in the 1980s. Terminator 2, unforgettable movie really if you were growing up in early to late 1990s. So this movie is still watched and loved by a lot of people. Number 12, another tough guy movie. In fact, it preceded the Arnold Schwarzenegger tough guy movies. Kurt Russell of Disney fame is in this one. It's John Carpenter's Escape from New York.
Brain, this is Broadway.
I know. The Duke will take 7th Avenue. Broadway's got 5 minutes.
No!
On it. Yes. Just keep driving.
What's wrong with Broadway?
Post-apocalyptic movie which has a hilariously ridiculous concept, although this is the coronavirus lockdown period in late 2020. Manhattan is a jail in this movie, and you wouldn't think of Manhattan as a jail, but maybe during the lockdowns it actually is. And Snake Plissken, another science fiction character who is well remembered, has to go and infiltrate and rescue someone from the jail that is Manhattan. So this is a sort of a fun break into the fortress and rescue a princess sort of tale. Number 11 is another Kurt Russell movie. It's a remake of a short story. This one is The Thing. I'm going to pair The Thing with Predator, another movie I really liked as a kid. And Predator is pretty much the same thing, an alien hunting down humans one by one. The Thing in this movie can eat humans and become them or clone them, and thus you don't know who is real and who is a human and who is an alien thing imposter. It takes place in Antarctica, so it's cold and wintry. It's like a jail. And this movie is based on a short story. You should read it. Who Goes There? Pretty interesting short story. I didn't like the original, so I think this remake is one of the better remakes ever, The Thing. Number 10 probably is number 1 on a lot of lists, but I'm putting it at 10 because I'm a Philip K. Dick fan. I've read all of his stuff, studied him quite a bit, and Blade Runner is not quite up to snuff for me. Now, it's visionary stuff about Los Angeles, sort of dark neo-noir Los Angeles, 30, 40 years ahead of its release date, is really interesting. Nice Ridley Scott-like effects and atmosphere in this movie. So for that reason, it ought to be here. I had a couple of literature professors who thought this was the only great science fiction work of the 20th century. They weren't science fiction scholars at all, not science fiction lovers, but they loved this movie for its literary quality. So I think if you saw that in this movie, also the games that this movie plays by having 4 or 5 versions, which version is best? Fans can always debate it. The story is thin to me, and so if you read Philip K. Dick's original novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, it's better, in fact, way better, more complex. But everyone should watch Blade Runner for its vision, its movie vision especially. Number 9 is slightly better, a quirkier, funnier, yet maybe darker version of Blade Runner. Comes out about the same time. It's Terry Gilliam's Brazil.
My God, what's going on? Emergency procedures. I haven't got an emergency.
Brazil is a satire on insane bureaucracies in England, insane regulations, and it's a real serious commentary on all kinds of things, including terrorism, at the time IRA terrorism, but a bunch of other kinds of terrorism, and also people's immersions in pleasure and dreams and fantasies versus reality. Terry Gilliam loves to play around with that, so Brazil is here. I should also mention Stalker, a similar sort of dystopian, angsty sort of director, visionary thing from the great Russian director Andrei Tarkovsky. It doesn't really seem like it's the same thing as Brazil, but I think they're of the same sort of zeitgeist and feel. So Brazil by Gilliam is the British version, Stalker is the Russian version. Both, that's 2 different sides of the Cold War, and yet both are articulating similar kinds of problems. Number 8 is one that has influenced everything. Video games, movies, you name it, popular culture in general. It's Dawn of the Dead by George Romero. Dawn of the Dead just starts with its premise, zombie apocalypse. Immediately, the news media are going nuts. About 10 minutes in, we see police raiding an apartment building that has zombies. And then the last 90 minutes of this movie, characters are escaping to a mall where they try to hole up as a fortress. But here come the zombies to the mall, attacking them. And you have 90 minutes of zombies trying to assault these characters, these ordinary humans, in a mall. It feels like its own self-contained world, and that's why it's spawned so many, so many sequels, so many inspirational zombie movies, whether it's Zombieland or The Walking Dead or all the video games with zombies in them. This movie sort of has the feel of a video game to me. It's really interesting. Everyone should watch it. Number 7, David Cronenberg's now going to appear twice, and The Fly is a mad scientist movie which a man accidentally transforms himself into a gigantic fly.
I feel wonderful. It's like a drug, but a perfectly pure and benign drug. The power I feel surging inside me. And I want to be able to wear you out. We'll be the perfect couple. The dynamic duo. Come on, right now.
Oh, hey, wait. Don't give me that born-again teleportation rap. I told you I'm scared to do it. What do I have to say? I'm not going to do it.
It's a simple parable about what science can do, genetic engineering run amok. It's a Frankenstein movie where the scientist is his own Frankenstein, and it's very creepy scenes. In fact, the most memorable to me is when Jeff Goldblum peels off his own fingernails. Who can forget that? So it's a love story, but it's a disturbing sort of monster love story tale. The Fly is really good. You have to watch The Fly, but I really enjoy this movie, even though it's a slower science fiction tale. Number 6 is a weird satire by Paul Verhoeven, the Dutch director who did other science fiction movies like Starship Troopers. Here we have a science fiction movie about justice and policing. It's RoboCop.
What do you say we find out, huh? I'm talking to you. What do you say? Huh? Huh? I'm talking to you! Drop it! Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
RoboCop is a mix of schlocky B-movie scenes with witty, satirical commentary. A very strange mix, but to me it's all about media, mass media, and how people get their perceptions through mass media, especially with the RoboCop, whose own view of the world is mediated by his computer system that, you know, he's a cyborg essentially, and he only sees the world through human eyes plus computer eyes. And you see a lot of newscasts in this as well that tell false tales. This is an era where we're talking about fake news way before it's actually named as fake news. So RoboCop deserves to be watched. If you like science fiction movies and if you like sort of media studies, it really hits that very hard. Number 5 on my list, a self-contained post-apocalyptic world that is, again, familiar for later movies and video games. It is Mad Max. The one I'm going with at number 5 is Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome.
Congratulations. You're the first to survive the audition.
Now, why would I pick Thunderdome? It's the third movie in a trilogy by Australian director George Miller. The Road Warrior, Mad Max 2, may be more famous or more beloved, which is a simple parable that has a great chase scene at the end of it. Very memorable chase scene. I think Mad Max 3 is a more interesting world to me, though, even though it's got maybe a couple more flaws than the Road Warrior does. So it's got Tina Turner. It's got some the cage match, a 2-man enter, 1-man leave, which is very memorable as well. It's got a city-country dynamic, and it's got this sort of Mel Gibson as, you know, Joseph Campbell-like savior hero. I really like this movie. Roger Ebert gave it 4 stars when it came out, so maybe it's not that bad. But Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, watch The Road Warrior as well. Number 4 on my list. Now, which of these movies is better, Alien or Aliens? That is a great debate topic, and I pick Aliens. I did a video on Aliens. It's much more interesting to me. Alien is a slow burn. Obviously, it has one of the great scenes in movie history where the chest burster comes out of the scientist's chest. Very memorable and obviously gory and graphic with lots of sort of bodily puns on pregnancy and phallic imagery and all that. But I like Aliens better. It has all the stuff that Aliens has, most of it, plus commentary on militarism, plus great action scenes. So this is James Cameron here. Great stuff all around Aliens. My number 3 is a quirky, weird, LA, trippy punk movie. It's Repo Man. I did a video on Repo Man, and I needed to redo it because I said this movie takes place in New Mexico. It doesn't. It takes place in Los Angeles. This is a classic Los Angeles movie about a kid, a young punk, and it has a punk aesthetic throughout, including Iggy Pop music, who becomes a repo man. He doesn't know what that is. He inadvertently becomes one. Also, there's a car that's escaped from Los Alamos that has a weird guy driving it and something glowing in the trunk. There is a science fiction premise here. It doesn't come up a lot. And so this movie is just a boatload of fun and weird quirkiness, and it gets the heart of a lot of what the punk aesthetic was. So watch Repo Man. It's really great. Number 2 on my list, I'm not sure about still. What in the heck does this movie mean? I think I get some of it, but not all of it. And it's about media studies, as I said, with RoboCop, and how our perceptions are managed by the media that we consume. It is Videodrome.
It's Nikki. Don't keep me waiting. Please. Please.
And to create Videodrome, David Cronenberg, the director, channeled Marshall McLuhan, but then did some very weird things. And the only thing I can say about this movie is you need to watch it and then read up on it as best you can. But the extent to which our bodies are part of the media enterprise, we like to separate digital media from physical media, but this movie conflates the two. So your body is intimately involved in somehow in digital media. I don't know how, but it says it is. And last, my number one on this list, I had to put it here. How could I not, given its influence? You may hate it, but it's there because, well, it's influenced movie history. Probably the most influential movie ever, one of them. Star Wars Episode 4.
Over my dead body.
Yes,
I bet you have.
And I like Episode 4 now at my age. I used to love Empire Strikes Back the best. But I think Empire Strikes Back took Star Wars, the whole franchise, in the wrong direction. Dark space opera, a lot of sort of overly sentimental themes. Number 4, Episode 4, is just a good romp, rescuing a princess from a fortress, destroying the fortress. It's kind of fun and plucky. Number 5 is much darker. And then, you know, Star Wars after number 5 really is, there's nothing really that great about the franchise. Sorry, fanboys, but it's not good literature. It's not good, complex, elusive literature like I like it. We get The Mandalorian recently, maybe the best thing that's happened in 30 to 40 years in Star Wars. So I think Empire Strikes Back took the mood and the tone in the wrong direction, even though it's legitimately an excellent movie. Star Wars Episode 4 is my favorite, so I'm putting it here at number 1. Now, what do you think of this list? How would you reorder it? What did I miss? Put that all in your comments. And really what I want to know is international science fiction movies. I only included 1 or 2 here, and I want to know what you think was made outside the Hollywood system in some other country somewhere that is a really good science fiction movie from 1977 to 1991. Please give us lots of great suggestions. I'm sure there's some I haven't seen, so I'd love to see those movies that I haven't heard of. Please put them in the comments. And if you like this video, there's a lot more on my channel. Please subscribe to it. Thank you so much. Have a great day.